There is a pie contest, and we are going to do it. The only catch is that it's due in 2 weeks. Let's make a pie. For the interfacing, I decided to go with Pellon A09 for the front and 71F for the back. The reason for the two different interfacing is because the front has more fabric, so the back front is heavier than the back of the bag. So therefore, with the heavier interfacing towards the back of the bag, hopefully it will balance the back a little bit better. I use Pellon 931 TD for the strap, handle, and D-rings to reduce bulkiness and make it easier to sew these panels. To make the pie crust more realistic, I decided to stain the fabric with coffee. The fabric I'm using is called Vanilla Ice. It is white, but it has a slightly more yellow undertone than the pure white fabric that I use for the meringue. I dye the fabrics with coffee and tea, and I found that the coffee gives a color closer to the pie crust than the tea. The tea dye gives the fabric a little bit of a red undertone. In natural lighting, it's very obvious. This one is lightly tinted red, so I decided to go with the coffee. Only after drying it did I realize it looks similar to natural canvas. There's only a small difference in that the one I dye has a lighter tint as well as a couple uneven spots. Natural canvas color will work great for this situation as well. To make the lemon part a little bit more glossy and look more like that lemon filling of a pie, you could definitely use Mod Podge to add a nice shine to it. The reason why I didn't decide to Mod Podge my fabric is because I'm going to add meringue on top of it, so it's going to cover up a lot of the yellow part of the bag, so there really is no need to Mod Podge. But if you really want, I did an experiment to determine which one of these works the best, and you can see for yourself. I found that the sealer Mod Podge creates a glossier look than the matte one. Though the glossy look was not a huge difference compared to the original fabric, I'm glad I didn't use the Mod Podge on my fabric. The gloss Mod Podge might be a better option if you want to try this out. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that I want the front to resemble the top of the pie. For the back, I decided to make a pie chart showing the perfect ratio of crust, filling, and meringue, completed with a hidden pocket. Okay, time to get back to sewing. To make the pie crust, I fold a strip of fabric along the edges. To ensure there is enough seam allowance for assembling the bag after adding the pie crust, I mark a circle 1 inch inward from the main panel. This step is very important, and here's what the completed pie crust looks like. Before I came up with this idea, I did a quick experiment with 3 different methods and determined which one works the best. Of the 3, I found that folding the piece of fabric overlapping each other works best. Of course, you could always use Rick Rack if you're in a time crunch. I found that one is very easy to make. The other option, which is a twisting one, was quite difficult to do. I have a hard time keeping the fabric in place and sewing along as I twist the fabric, so I don't recommend that method. To add an accent to the back, I opted for antique brass hardware and used Chicago screws to secure the back strap, D-rings, and even added feet to the bottom of the bag. I couldn't decide whether to use 1 Chicago screw for the strap or 2, but after comparing both, I like the one with 1 Chicago screw. This was my first time using Chicago screw, and I quite like them. If you are planning on using Chicago screw, I highly recommend adding a rubber O-ring to the back of the screw to tighten it well. I discovered that the screw can be a bit loose if the fabric layer isn't thick enough. I didn't have O-ring, so I used grommet, which also worked well for this purpose. To make the meringue, I folded a strip of fabric to hide the seam and sewed it onto the front panel. After sewing it, I puff it outward to create the meringue look. To keep the shape standing upright, I sew another line on the opposite side after puffing it. You can also spray it with cornstarch water if you prefer to have a stiffer shape. It wouldn't be a meringue if there was no blowtorching, so I got to blowtorch the fabric. Based on my experiment, the lighter gives you a better control of where you burn the edges of your fabric than with the blowtorch. You can tell here the burn mark was more even because I have better control of it. And yes, I did accidentally burn my fabric a little bit with the blowtorch. So be careful when torching your fabric. Originally, I was just gonna make a circle bag with a pie chart of different graphs of something funny. But then I thought that would not be fun at all. It's just a pie chart graph. It's too easy. So I was just thinking of what is my favorite pie. And actually, lemon meringue pie is one of my favorite pies. So I thought, can I actually make a lemon meringue pie bag? And to be honest, I didn't really know how to make the meringue part. The part where I blowtorched the fabric, the idea of that came from this video I saw. That's all I have. Wish me luck. If I win, either way, I have a lot of fun making this bag. And if you're curious and want the pattern template, the cutting pattern, not the full instruction how to sew it, check out my Patreon. Otherwise, as always, have fun creating, and until next time, bye!